The All Whites have been beaten by Poland in their first October international friendly. This is just despite the All Whites actually putting in a decent performance against a side ranked 36th in the world. But would be the Polish captain Piotr Zielinski that would score early in the second half to give the hosts a 1-0 victory and also the win in this international matchup. And I'm going to be reviewing it all here for you today because I'm Nick from Nickn'detail, and today I'm going to be reviewing the All Whites and Poland game which took place in Poland the other day. So let's get into it. That's right, and what was actually a pretty decent matchup between these two teams. This game did not fail to disappoint. This is despite the All Whites in the last international window against the Socceroos looking a little bit more disappointing, but it's safe to say this first game, this was a much better showing from the Kiwis, but unfortunately they would fall short in this international matchup against Poland. As I said, of course, it would be their Polish captain, Piotr Zielinski. They would score early in the second half to give Poland a 1-0 victory. So let's get my thoughts on this game. This actually was a good match to watch. Pretty even matchup, of course, considering the All Whites ranked 84th in the world and Poland ranked 36th in the world. You thought there'd be a big difference between the two teams, and to be honest, there really isn't. You could not tell the rankings were quite a distant. I mean, you could argue that yes, Poland probably weren't playing their strongest team. They were resting a lot of their players for their World Cup qualifier, which of course, actually funny enough, was today. They won 2-0 against Lithuania, so the likes of Robert Lewandowski wasn't playing, and a few other their big players as well were on the bench or didn't get on, or only got on for like a few minutes. So you can safely say that was pretty much probably a big part of it, was the fact that we didn't see this full Polish strong team very much in play for this game. But despite that, the All Whites did a very good job. They created some great chances. They looked really good with the ball at feet. And defensively as well, they actually looked pretty solid. I mean, that goal they did concede, yes, it was probably pretty poor from the All Whites to let that wing play happen and allow Poland to create that chance. But I thought overall, defensively, they were actually pretty solid and looked pretty secure at the back. And I think that 1-0 scoreline probably suggests that, yeah, the All Whites did just do that against a side ranked well above them in the FIFA World Rankings. And as I said, they had their fair share of chances as well. Safe to say they probably could have actually got a couple goals, of course, had they buried them. But I think what we've seen from this All Whites team, they've been very good at creating chances. But when it comes to the finishing, where we're not quite seeing that from this team yet, and particularly with the World Cup coming out next year, it's something that really needs to be sorted. But on the positive note, they're giving aside Poland a really good run for their money, and this is great signs coming into a World Cup year where it probably will be very likely we'll see the All Whites in a very difficult World Cup group. Of course, the World Cup being expanded for 2026, of course, more teams, therefore more quality of teams, of course, in this tournament. So I think for the All Whites, this is great preparation for them, a great result, even though, of course, they lost the game. To be able to give a side like Poland, like I said, a very good, game indeed, and yeah, very good signs heading into the World Cup, but also their next international friendly, which I'll talk about a bit later on in this video. So overall, a good performance from the All Whites, and even though 1-0 was a bit disappointing, I think from their perspective, it's a good result for them heading into their next few matches. So who was my standout player for this game? I'm actually going to give a shout out to Alex Poulsen. Now, actually, it was a bit of a surprise to see Alex Poulsen named to start between the sticks. We'd normally expect their number one, Max Crocombe, to be starting in goal, but Darren Baisley handed Alex Poulsen the number one shirt for this matchup, and he actually looked pretty decent as well. We didn't see Alex Poulsen, of course, against the Socceroos being there, and he just moved to his Polish club, so we actually didn't get to see him at all in the last international window, but back now, of course, having had a few months over in the Ekstraklasa for Lechia Gdansk, and yeah, good to see Poulsen back in a New Zealand shirt. Great to see him back getting some international minutes. He looked very good, made a couple saves. The goal he conceded, very unlucky one as well. It was a good strike, no keeper, saves those sorts of shots, and just looked really good, and that pretty much just asks the question, who is going to be the All Whites number one keeper? Because I think Alex Poulsen, with his performance against a very good Poland side, shows that, yeah, very much he can be vying for that number one shirt with Max Crocombe. Max Crocombe's place very much is not safe. So very interesting to see how these next few matches are going to shape up, because this will probably very much determine who will be that number one goalkeeper. I mean, obviously at the moment it's probably going to be Max Crocombe because of the games he's had, but I think if Alex Poulsen keeps getting these games and performing like that, I think he could very much leapfrog Max Crocombe to that number one shirt heading into the World Cup next year. And as I said, good performance from Alex Poulsen. He is my standout player from this matchup. So what's next for the All Whites? Well, they have another international friendly before the October window closes. They head to Oslo to take on Norway. Of course, having their World Cup qualifying game the other day where we saw Erling Haaland bag a hat-trick and Norway winning 5-0 against Israel. However, of course, this Norway team aren't going to be fielding their strong team. 5 players have actually withdrawn from the squad to play the All Whites, including Erling Haaland. He's actually chosen to go back to Manchester City, of course, with the upcoming Premier League and Champions League games for them. So very much deciding because of that schedule to pull out of this squad. So this won't be a fully strong Norway team. I guess disappointing for us. We're not going to see Haaland, playing against the All Whites, but that was very much expected, as we expected. With Poland not fielding Robert Lewandowski, very much we're seeing the same for Norway with Erling Haaland. We're not surprised that Haaland isn't going to be playing against an 84th ranked side when, of course, Norway 33rd ranked in the world, having just had a friend qualified the other day, and just in a friendly game against New Zealand, no point fielding or risking your star player getting injured. And of course, this is Norway, who don't have the captain Martin Odegaard from Arsenal. Of course, he's out injured and he actually had to withdraw from the squad before the international window coming up. So very much this will be an understrength Norwegian team. A good opportunity for the All Whites to actually put on another good performance as they did against Poland. And as I said, that's Wednesday morning, 5 a.m. in the morning our time for that matchup, and that will be in Oslo. The All Whites up against Norway. That is the next game for New Zealand. That's going to be for me. Yeah, safe to say this was actually a surprising performance from the All Whites. I think, like I said, coming off against Australia, where they just looked second best compared to their Trans-Tasman neighbours, they put on a really good performance against this Polish team. And Norway, they're going to be trickier. They're going to be ranked, obviously, they're ranked higher than Poland, and yes, you could say they won't be their strong side, but at the same time, it's still a side that are ranked 31st in the world. They're still going to be pretty damn good. So, what will be another tough game for the All Whites, but I think if they put on a show like they did against Poland the other day, I think certainly they can give Norway a run for their money, and even maybe we can talk about the possibility of even them beating Norway in front of their home crowd. But for me, that's going to be it. Until next time, I'll see you later.